It is good to have you back. If you're just joining us, this is Firecrackers and we're just getting started. I have with me here in the studio Dr. Felix Olorunda. He's a security expert. Many thanks for being with us on the show.
Thank you for having me.
And we also have joining us live from Ibadan. We have Professor Remi Ayede, a political analyst. Many thanks for joining us on the show at this time. All right, now to the topic we have before us, that is the threat to democracy in Africa. So recently, actually, we just said that in the past decade, we've been having coup, but this year's one, it seems to be the one that has the most impact, or that's the consequences, because it seems everyone around the world, their attention seems to be on Africa and this incessant coup. So one begins to wonder, is it that democracy has outdone itself in Africa and it's time for us to be looking to something new, or perhaps it could still be salvaged?
Well, it could be salvaged. It could still be salvaged. And you know that the panacea, the solution to coup, military coup, is good governance. So once we can have our leaders, if they can key to good governance, then there will be an end to coup in Africa. Okay,
all right. Now let us hear what Professor Remi Ayede has to say about this. Is it that in Africa, democracy has probably outlived its purpose and it's time for us to be looking to something different, perhaps something that would work for all masses? Or should we just still salvage it and still try to cling on to democracy? Okay, since we do not have him at this time, but now still talking about this topic we have at hand. The latest coup is in Gabon. Gabon is such a small country when compared to countries like Nigeria in Africa, and of about 2 million people they have there, is still one of the poorest countries that we have in Africa, despite the fact that the country is so rich. What do you think is the problem there? Is it because the leader, they run the states, the democracy, they run it like monarchy? Or do you feel like it's another thing that is contributing to the poverty or the bad living the people they are experiencing? Okay, let's just get some basic statistics about the country. Gabon is a country of 2.3 million people and is a oil-rich country in Africa, ought to be one of the richest in Africa per capita, because they are sitting on oil wealth. And we have one family who has been in leadership since 1967, and so they have been there for 56 years. And majority of the people are poor. So that you can't say that is a democracy. And even what brought about this coup is the last election that they have, and the opposition knew that the election was widely rigged, was not acceptable to the majority of the people, and the current president that has been ousted now was not well, health-wise, was not fit, because he had, we saw him on the television, that he had a partial stroke, he couldn't walk very well and all of that. And so people, at that level, and he has been there since 2009, and he has just won another election for another term. So these are the problems. Sit-tightism, or what do you call it? It's not synonymous with democracy. Democracy should be that no matter how good you are as a leader, you should give room to other people to come and do their best. Because no one is still dispensable of wisdom and knowledge in governance. So we have one family. The father was there for 42 years, from 1967 to 2009, and the son took over after the death of the father as a president. So now the son took over as a 2009 and has been there for 14 years and has just won another election. So this fly in the face of sense of democracy. So that is not democracy, and that's what people have rebelled against. Okay, but do you feel like it could still be a problem, despite the fact that we know for sure that things are not going well in Gabon? That was why the military Perhaps that was why the military thought that it was right for them to intervene and try to restore some semblance of order in the state. But let us look at some other countries that they've had one leader that has been there for a very long time, and the country is doing relatively well compared to other countries that sticks to that circle of leaders, changing leaders over and over again. So let's assume that if everything were to be going well in the country, do you feel like that's changing of leadership, the cycle of changing leadership, do you still feel like that might be necessary?
Yeah, I actually hold that opinion too, that, well, democracy, because of the economy and how expensive democracy might be, changing of leadership every 4 years might become very expensive for us to manage, particularly if we look at the case of our country. And most of the elections are not free and fair. They are what we can regard as a sham election, and one leader just manipulating the process. So those are the things that, but in this particular case of Gabon, the complaints were that there's poverty and that the last election was widely not acceptable. As those are the two basic reasons why the military has to, intervene and remove the man there. That the election were rigged and there's so much poverty in the midst of plenty. So those are the two basic reasons that have been advanced for this change of government in Gabon.
All right, talking about the threat to democracy in Africa. So as my guest was saying earlier, you did mention that one of the problems we have in Africa is the election is not always free and fair. So if this is the problem, do you still think that it is right for Western world to still be insisting that all those countries that have had coup takeover, that they should return to democracy when it is clear that it is not working?
Well, maybe as we go along, maybe we'll get to improve the process because it's been adjudged as the best form of government. But we know that in the Arabian world, in the Middle East and all of that, they don't practice democracy. And so they practice majorly monarchy. And we have seen development, we have seen progress in those environments. So maybe the African leader need to come together. Or maybe we need to evolve our own form of democracy. So that it's not just going to be practiced as being suggested or as being professed by the West. Maybe we still have to come around, because I've done a little study and I've seen that democracy does not really work in an environment with so much poverty like we have in Africa. So we still have to fashion out our own form of democracy that will be able to suit our own environment, not just we just take it the way it has been packaged for us by the West.
Okay, so if you were to give points on improving on the democracy we already have in Nigeria that would be suitable for the poor, the poorest of the poor, what would you recommend on this adjustment that should take place? What would you recommend this to be done?
Okay, like I know that in the USA, for example, where we copy our own form of democracy from, they don't practice one man, one vote. They have electoral college. So the president is not elected by popular votes. There has to be an electoral college even after the popular vote, and whoever wins the electoral college becomes the president. If we reference the case of Hillary Clinton in 2016 won the popular vote by over 3 million votes, popular votes. But it was Trump that was declared president because Trump won by electoral college. So you, in a situation whereby I think electoral college vote kind of is different from popular. So see, that is the democracy that we copy from the US. So but here in Nigeria we say one man, one vote, one man anywhere, so, and that is not giving us the result that we need. So we still need to, maybe our professors and those political scientists need to come together and brainstorm and see what kind of democracy should we really practice in Africa. This democracy that we're practicing in Nigeria does not help us to advance development. It's obvious. Look at the last election, it's been widely disputed, there's still court process, some people are saying the government is illegitimate, all kinds of things as well. And whether you like it or not, the government is distracted in a way, because some of the things that they want to do, they are not getting support of everybody. And the government need to get the support of everybody to be able to forge ahead with their policies, for everybody to buy into it, and for us to make progress.
Okay, all right. And then let us look at some other African countries.
Okay.
For example, the ones that have had one president or one leader that has been ruling them for over 10 years. And okay, for example, now a country like Rwanda that
yes.
retired some of their generals.
Yes.
Do you feel like that might be necessary, especially if your conscience is clear that you're doing the best for your country? Then why do people need to rebel in the first place?
Well, you know, the case of Rwanda is a bit different. You know, they just emerged from, you know, this wide massacre they have, the tribal conflict and all.
The genocide.
And the genocide. And and this man became president and has been there for 22 years. But what everybody is suggesting to him is, see, well, there's no successor without a good successor. So you have been there for 22 years. It's time to groom a successor, to have a succession planning. That because one day you are going to leave, you can't be there forever. So if you have been there, and yeah, it's the best destination in Africa, everybody's applauding what he's doing, but this is time for him also to start planning a succession, to start planning how to hand over to someone that will even come and do it better than what you have done. But for you to remain there and think that, oh, because I'm doing well at the countries, and there are still going to be opposition leaders there who want, okay, let us also try, because someone might still come and even do better than what you have done. That is the nature of we human beings. You can't be there and think, oh, I'm the only person that can do it. So that is the message. And now, because of what happened in Gabon, what happened in Niger, we have seen that the man retired a lot of generals, even, you know, a lot of kind of reshuffle the military and restructure it, just because he doesn't want to have a repeat of what happened in Gabon.
Yeah, and that's because if we are looking at it this way, if let's take for instance that it has been established hypothetically that democracy might not be the best thing that has happened to Africa because of the way the people are wired, different cultural background, and what speaks to each and everyone around the continent, even amongst tribesmen, is different. So which type of government would you even recommend? Because it seems as if we are used to the system of monarchy. Well, you know, we had many kings ruling. Because Nigeria is a very big country,
yes.
You know, Nigeria is a very big country.
Yes.
So in instances like this, what would you have recommended?
Well, what I will recommend is that, from my own opinion, and I stand to be corrected, is that I believe that the kind of democracy we run in Nigeria is too expensive for us. We can't afford it. We can't afford the bicameral legislation. We can't afford all the special assistants. The Speaker of the House, we're having 33 special. You know, when you look at the cost of governance, we need to have a government that is slim, that is smart. We can't have that humongous 45 members of the federal cabinet. Come on. Even in the US, they have 15 secretaries of state. That's one of the biggest economies. What are you going to do with 45 ministers, for example? In Germany, they also have 16 or their member of the cabinet. That's the strongest, one of the strongest economy in the Western world. So must we have this, you know, so this, and everybody is talking about the cost of governance. Okay, the member of the National Assembly, they are going to buy this. Every, you know, assembly, we have to allocate money to buy vehicles and all of that. The economy, this economy that is not performing cannot afford that luxury for them. So until until they understand some of these sensitivities, and that this economy that we are running, the way people cannot eat, where a bag of rice 52,000 naira, and some people are just living as if it doesn't matter. No, definitely people are not happy. Even with our own democracy, I'm sure a lot of people are not happy. The young people are not happy because they want performance. We know that there's no performance from these people. So what are we going to do? They have to sit down and look at the form of democracy that we are practicing. Can we, for example, practice part-time legislation? Can they be on part-time? Do we need 2 houses of assembly, federal parliament? Can't we just do with 1? So that we reduce cost of governance and we can have a smart, very slim government structure that can help things to move forward.
Do you think the population of Nigeria might perhaps justify the huge number of people we have in government?
Well, I've just referenced the United States of America. They are still more than us in population. We copy their democracy. Okay, how come they have just 15 cabinet secretaries? Okay, there are about 300 and something million people. and that's one of the largest economies in the whole world. Okay, so how do they run the government? Those are the things that we should study.
But you know, Nigeria too is very diverse. When we look at, in Nigeria alone, we have over 500 languages that are spoken.
Yes.
We have lots of tribes. And do you feel like that in its own way warranted that there should be people maybe represent? Because if you are coming from a local government area, or if you're the constituency you are representing, it is assumed that you are also standing in for the people. You probably relate more to them, you speak their language, you dine and wine together. Do you feel like if we look at it from that angle too, it might be justified?
Well, I think what we have to do is to reference the United States of America, where we copy our democracy. So there are 50 states. And so, because constitutionally, I know that our constitution says that a minister must come from each state. So, if we have 36 states plus Abuja 37, so we should have 37 ministers. But okay, they have 50 states. How do they appoint 15 cabinet secretaries, for example? So, some of the problems that we have to be constitutional amendment. You have to go through constitutional amendment to say, look, we have to start. I think that's one thing they did in Rwanda. That when you go to Rwanda, you can't say, like we say in Nigeria, are you from Ondo State? Are you a Yoruba? No, because of what they experienced, the genocide. So everybody is Rwanda, first and foremost. So if we are Nigerian, first and foremost, you don't see yourself, I'm Fulani, I'm Hausa, I'm Yoruba, I'm Igbo. That we are just Nigerian. So whoever, maybe for example, we have 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. Maybe the ministers should be chosen based on geopolitical zones. So if we have 6, maybe, just my concern is that we must reduce our cost of governance in Nigeria. Because if we say this democracy is about having a very large cabinet at state, at federal government, and this, and we know that the cost of governance is too heavy, even for our resources to carry. Okay, the last study that we have is that 96% of our income, is used to service debt. We are a country, we are not very rich. So we can't afford some of these things that we are doing. So why can't we come and be realistic with what we have and carry less burden and let this government be smart and be able to make progress?
Okay, all right. I feel like it's time for us to go on a break so that we'll be able to accommodate our second topic, which is looking at the causes and solution to coup in Africa. And so we might not experience same in Nigeria. So let's go on this break, and when we come back, we will continue. Please stay with us.